Shwa! What's up, everybody? It's your main man Bennett back here and again, and welcome back to the Not Your Mama's Fantasy Football League Volume 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's over. The whole thing is over. Haven't seen you in a while. Could have done an update at a previous juncture, but I thought I would save it for this final video. What can we say? We're going to go over the playoffs. Playoffs? What? There were a total of 3 matches, obviously. The first 2 in the first round of the playoffs, and then the Grand Championship finale. Let's talk about it a little bit. So, obviously, we got that Happy New Year,
Happy New Year, Society.
Okay, so here we go. We got that first matchup that took place. And let me tell you, everything had to go exactly how it went to end the way it did. And, by the end of this story that I'm going to tell, you're going to feel good, you're going to feel bad, it's going to be like a Shawshank Redemption. There's happy parts or sad parts, like the prison scene where Andy Dufresne is like getting chased by those guys that are, trying to, hang out with him in the showers. In this story, the part of Andy Dufresne is played by Whitney and the Fancy Lads, but we're not there yet. So first off, the first match took place a little while ago now, and it was between Grand Salami Time, the 4th seed, and Fancy Lads, the 1st seed. And a well-deserved 1st seed, had the best record in the league going into the playoffs. And this was a true playoff matchup here. We got, a team that had been rocking with Jalen Hurts all year. We got a team with Josh Allen. These are, or not Josh Allen, Scrap. Is it Josh Allen? No, it was Mahomes. My bad. So my notes here basically say that Katie's team showed up to play. She scored over 145, almost 146 points. And on any other given week against any other given opponent, I did some math, and it was basically 9 out of 10, give or take. Actually, it would probably even be better than 9 out of 10. That's how often she would win, being like the 90 percentile that Katie would win, amassing that volume of points. Didn't happen, but it's because, basically, she had Kirk Cousins, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins combine for 82 points. I mean, hell, you got 3 guys combined for 82. You end up scoring 145, 146. You're probably going to win. But Jalen Hurts got her to the playoffs. Fortunately, Jalen Hurts was unavailable for this game, although Kirk Cousins did do serviceable. But guys like Christian McCaffrey and Josh Jacobs, crucial for them to show up. They performed below their annual averages. So even with all that being said, not using Jalen Hurts and then her other 2 top guys producing under their average, she still put up almost 146 points, which is a lot. If you have anyone to blame, Katie, at the end of the day, you got to blame Josh Jacobs. He just kind of put up a nothing burger that week. Would he have been able to score an additional, 15, 16, 17 points for you? I don't know. Probably not. So at the end of the day, Katie ran through the buzzsaw that is the fancy lads. Wow. Ultimate combo this season by far. Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson. Guys who regularly combine for over 50. And this week was no exception. Whitney's star players combined for 53.06. Not to mention the 30-point performance by T.J. Hawkinson. And that is how you catapult to 162 points. No one has scored that many points all year. He did it in the first round of the playoffs. Kudos to Whitney. You know, he was a dynamite team all season, and then he shows up in the playoffs, and wow, you know, the most points that we have ever seen all year from a fantasy team, and it's in the playoffs. So first seed knocks out the fourth seed, and that's how that match went. You know, Whitney then moves on to the finals, to the championship. The other match was between Beta with Cheddar, Ben Ren, king of the boat, king of the land, reigning, defending champion in the playoffs, which I love to see. I love that parody. And he goes up against Limp Bizkit. Michael's team has been on a downward trajectory. Let me look, actually, because I believe if you look at Michael's schedule, I'm having a hard time finding it now, but okay, yeah, I didn't try to get this data. Come on, data. Show me some data. So let's see here. I'm trying to decipher how long of a losing streak Michael went on before the playoffs begun. Let's see. Week 15, he lost that. Week 14, he lost that. Week 13, he lost that. So you got to go back to week 12. Michael beat Allen. And so he was on a 3-week losing streak as he goes into the fantasy playoffs. Not a, kind of an auspicious way to go. But what did that do? It made him, he was in competition for the first seed with Whitney. He got busted ass down to the second seed. How important is that? Well, he went up against Beta with Cheddar, who was the third seed. Second seed, third seed, they go at it. And they win at it indeed. While Michael's Limp Bizkits got the victory, it was off of a paltry 121 points. Remember, first matchup, we have 145 to 162. So grand salami time. Katie's team would have destroyed Ben or Michael had the seeding been a little different. Had Michael been that top seed, we would have ultimately found ourselves in a Katie versus Whitney finale. Which, if her roster was the same as the consolation prize bracket, she scored 108, and ultimately Whitney scored 105. Katie would have been the champion. Isn't that wild? So anyway, I will say a lot had to go wrong for Ben's team to make this all happen. The negative 4 points from the Broncos defense definitely didn't help. I think that was brutal. I believe that he had the Eagles defense on his bench. The Eagles defense scored 10 points. So negative 4 and 10, that's a 14-point swing had he played the Eagles D instead. And that would have literally been enough to win. He would have had 121.6 points. He would have defeated Michael's team by a fraction of a single point. Not to mention that on the other side, on Mikey's side, Justin Herbert, Garrett Wilson, and Mark Andrews combined for 14 points. And Michael also left D'Onta Foreman on this bench, who scored about 23. So that he was definitely vulnerable. 121 points could be gettable, and Ben could have got it. He had the tools to get it. It just didn't materialize for your boy. Made a heck of a run to get into the playoffs to defend his crown. Cheers. It's coffee. Ultimately, he went up against Limp Bizkit, whose losing streak was snapped, got the dub, and Michael moves on to the championship round against Whitney. So that's a recap of the first week of playoffs right there. Everything had to go perfect perfect or horrible, depending on who was impacted and how. Then we get ourselves to the championship. The first seed against the second seed. The two teams that have outperformed everybody all season, at least in wins, for the most part. Limp Bizkit ultimately tied with the other people, but what are you going to do? Itch bean guy. Come on. We're in it. Okay. Now, this was a showdown. I remember I lost my note, but I had a note that showed the projections a while back before the matchups began, and it was looking like Whitney and the Fancy Lads were going to take it. But they had what needed to be done. They had just scored 162 points. Michael is averaging about 120, maybe a little bit less than 120. So Whitney's just got to do what he do. And if Michael do what he do, he's going to edge him out. It's going to happen. That's how this is going to play out. However, that's not how it played out. At the end of the world, at the end of the street, the two powerhouses who were atop these power rankings all year went head to head, and Michael's 125.68 points was enough to capture the crown. It's a sad thing, what took place in the Monday Night Football game. Because this fantasy matchup, ultimately, a lot of championships around the world, millions upon millions of fantasy players, people in their championship lineups, playing guys like Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and Joe Burrow and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and all these incredible players, top tier players. They were in that Monday Night Football game, and that game got cut short and ultimately completely canceled. But let me back up a tad. The reason why Whitney lost isn't because Devin Singletary didn't amass 21 points on Monday Night Football, which we can all appreciate would have been possible, but unlikely. Could he do it? Potentially. It would mean Devin Singletary would have had the best game of his career after having basically the best game of his career. He scored about 19 points the week prior. He would need to score 20, 21 points for Fancy Lads to have overtaken the deficit going into that Monday Night Football game. Justin Jefferson. Let's talk about Justin Jefferson for a minute. The championship week, the championship boy, the number one wide receiver in all of fantasy, Justin Jefferson, who plays for the Minnesota Vikings, scored 2 points. That's what happened. His average, by the way, if I click on his profile, is 18.7. I think that's his year-end average. So if he had gotten that, it would have been closer. But Whitney's team just fell at the end. This is the championship matchup. TJ Hawkinson scored less than his average. A.J. Brown did good. He showed up. He did 17.7 points. That's good. But J.J. scoring 2 points is horrific. Jacoby Myers did more than his average. The Buccaneers defense did more than their average. Justin Tucker did more than his average. Kenneth Walker III did more than his average. Geno Smith on his bench did more than his average. Richie James on his bench did more than his average. Jordan Mason, the San Francisco running back, I've never heard of him, he did more than his average. Jaylen Warren, Pittsburgh running back, he did more than his average. So basically everybody that Whitney had available did more than their average, except for Justin Jefferson, who got 2. So that's really the story of that championship match. For those that are unfamiliar, have been paying attention to the news media cycle this week, on Monday Night Football, the safety for the Buffalo Bills, Damar Hamlin, suffered a hit and his heart stopped, and so he went into cardiac arrest. The news has said more recently that he's probably going to be all right, probably not going to play football again. But as a result of that horrific hit and subsequent cardiac arrest, they stopped the game. They originally were going to postpone the game, and in the days after the incident this week, they decided they're going to cancel the game. So it's as if the game never was played, never will be played, and that these two teams will have a unique schedule, that they just have one less game than other teams that played this season. Most teams have a 18-week, 17-game schedule, and these two teams ultimately will have an 18-week, 16-game schedule. Huge implications for the NFL playoffs. These are top-level AFC teams, like the 3 best teams in the AFC are all impacted by this. And I've said this to multiple people. In our small fantasy world, how does this impact us? Well, Whitney did play Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary plays for the Bills. He was projected to get 8.5 points. And I think he even had about 1 or 2 points before the game was called. By the game being canceled, it's as if the teams were on a bye and Whitney played them. It's sad. It sucks. Had he played, if we just want to play that game of, you know what, I'm not going to play Devin Singletary. I'm going to play, who? Best case scenario, he would have played the Jaylen Warren running back on his bench, who got 11.3 points. That would have taken his point total up to 117. Now, let's say also that he wasn't going to play Justin Jefferson. You were going to. Anybody in the championship was going to, and you were going to, and you did. But let's say you didn't play JJ, and instead you played Richie James, a wide receiver for the Giants, who got 17.1 points. You would have defeated Michael. That is true. No Devin Singletary, no Justin Jefferson. In place of that, if you had played Jaylen Warren and Richie James, Whitney would have finished the year with 132 points, north of that, and would be crowned the champion. But he did what any sane man would do, is you play Devin Singletary. Devin Singletary is serviceable. He had a higher projection. And of course you're going to play your star player, Justin Jefferson. So, what can we say? What else? Michael's side, Austin Eckler, Amari Cooper came in the clutch. Mark Andrews got his job done. He got 14 points. Giants defense with the huge pick 6 to kind of help get a little buffer for Michael's team. The Zonovan Knight, Jalen Waddle play, not super strong. Saquon Barkley didn't really show up. Isaiah Pacheco would have been a better play. Or Brandon Ayuk. But that's all a bunch of blah, blah, blah now. Where we stand is that this season is over. The championship has been concluded. Point totals have been registered. And the winner and new heavyweight fantasy football champion of the world of the Not Your Mama's Fantasy Football League Volume 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is Michael Limp Biscuits Cook. Venmo transaction has been complete. Thus ends this commissioner's tour of duty until Volume 6. And I'll put it all the way down. Volume 6, tentative title, The Heist. Yeah, because I'm out. Or Volume 6, Pick Up Sticks. No, I don't like that. Volume 6. Volume 6, Mark of the Beast. No, I don't like that either. We'll come up with something. I don't know. Congratulations, well deserved to Michael for the victory. Condolences and salutations to our dear friend Whitney. I did speak to Michael, and I do want to reiterate this every year. If you win the championship, which in this case was a $60 buy-in times 12 people, that's $720. If you win the championship, you can choose to keep it all, such is your right. But you have another choice you can make, and that is to be benevolent to your second place and to give them a second place trophy of their buy-in back. Talk to Michael, and he is elected to give Whitney his buy-in back. That's good karma. That's benevolent. Might be the new year, but the holiday spirit is still alive and well within us. So congratulations to Michael, first and foremost. Congratulations to Whitney. I feel for you, man. Thank God it wasn't like you were playing Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs. Like if there was a situation where you really needed that guy to play and perform, and he probably was gonna, and then he got taken away from you, we get to avoid that. So I think everyone in the league can agree Devin Singletary probably won't go and score 21 points. Just going to say that. I'm going to double check again to see his stat lines. Boy, man, it would be close. But it's like anything else. Whitney could have won by making some other roster decisions. This was a roster decision that was kind of taken away from him. Gives a little bit of a competitive edge to Michael's team. But ultimately, if Devin Singletary played, he has never scored that many points in his career. He's come close. Would he do it against Cincy? We'll never know. So, congratulations, everybody. How did this video get this long? God, someone tell me to wrap it up. Have a great spring, summer. We'll see you in the fall. It's hard.